Warhammer 40K is a setting filled with horror, endless war, and frequent Primarch crashouts. But also, drugs. So many drugs. From combat stims, to demon semen, to snorting warp dust like it's fine dining, some factions are basically living in a Warhammer version of Burning Man, if everyone there was on ketamine and worshipped the Noise Marine with a speaker for a face. The Emperor's children alone are out here turning every battlefield into a techno-rave orgy of bad decisions. So today we're answering the real important question: who gets the highest in the 41st millennium? This isn't your standard Cal lore video, guys. We're getting real retarded here. As you can tell, I am cracking up as I record this. This is Who's Got the Galaxy's Best Plugs video. We're talking combat stims, soul drugs, psychic meth, warp bending party favors, and last but definitely not least, heinous amounts of ketamine. So let's break down each of the major factions, what they're on, how hard they hit, and finally we'll crown the galactic MVP of getting absolutely obliterated. Starting our deep dive, we have the Imperium. And there are so many drugs in the Imperium of Man. The galaxy-spanning empire of humanity contains an equally massive network of narcotics, both legal and illegal, and it all depends on where you are. Legal restrictions, it varies. Enforcement, spotty at best. On one world, the enforcers might shoot you for looking at their low stick wrong. On another, they might be selling them. The Imperium is just too damn big and chaotic to manage a unified stance on drugs. Sector governors aren't going to waste time policing underhive drug rings when there are Tyranids in orbit and Slanesh cultists fucking in their sewers. So whether something is illegal is often more of a suggestion than an actual rule. As long as the local nobility isn't personally affected, what happens in the underhive tends to stay there. And speaking of underhives, these places run on drugs. Gangers are cooking up all sorts of local brews, sometimes made from whatever horrifying native flora or fauna they can get their hands on. You've got powdered mushrooms that melt your brainstem, venomous fish-bird scale blends, and whatever Frankenstein chemicals they can slam into a stem needle. If it gets you high, it exists somewhere in the Imperium. Some concoctions are only found on a single planet, but if there's trade, these recipes spread, sometimes with terrifying local substitutions. Now, on the official side of things, the Imperium actively uses drugs. Space Marines are literally walking pharmaceutical labs, as they use drugs to manage their pain, enhance their reflexes, and dump combat stimulants directly into their bloodstream when needed. They aren't popping pills for fun, but there's no denying they're juiced up beyond belief. Then there's the Imperial Guard, especially the Penal Legions. These poor bastards get handed Frenzen and Onslaught combat drugs that jack up aggression, dull pain, and often come with a lovely side effect like exploding hearts. Even regular regiments might get access to stims, especially if their commanding officer thinks juicing his troops will give them a fighting edge. Medics also carry emergency stims to keep soldiers fighting even after they've lost most of their blood. Then there's the Imperial Assassins, especially the Eversor. These guys are assassins injected with a nightmare blend of muscle, rage, and pure ketamine. Their whole body is running on an unstable cocktail of hyper stims, berserker enhancers, and biological death smoothies. They're so chemically unstable, they have to be kept in stasis between missions or they'd literally explode. You do not want to party with this guy. And finally, we've got the civilian favorites. Low sticks, basically space cigarettes, and Recaf, which is 40K's version of coffee and absolutely counts as a drug. They're common morale boosters for Imperial Guard troops, and low sticks are especially widespread throughout the Imperium. They're technically regulated, but again, enforcement is flexible. So from the top brass to the lowest scumbag gang member, the Imperium is absolutely awash with drugs. Whether it's combat enhancers, moral boosters, or weird underhive psychedelics, there is no escape from the world of drugs. If you live in the Imperium, odds are something's in your bloodstream, and it's probably not good for you. If the Imperium is swimming in drugs, Chaos is doing cannonballs into pools of raw warp crack with demons as lifeguards. Every Chaos faction is absolutely soaked in drugs. Literal, psychic, emotional, and even reality-breaking. Whether it's pain, pleasure, rage, rot, or ambition, Chaos gives you a high that's cosmic in scale and catastrophic in their consequences. Let's break it down god by god, because each one has their own signature flavor of why did you inject that into your soul ass first. Khorne, the rage juice junkies. Khorne followers aren't subtle about their addictions. Their drug of choice is rage. Pure, burning, nerve-melting fury. The World Eaters, the most famous legion of murder junkies, used to be elite warriors. Then Angron slapped the butcher nails into their brains, which permanently rewired their neurology to reward them for violence. You get a dopamine hit for every decapitation. Think murder meth installed directly into your skull. The nails make them stronger, faster, and completely incapable of chilling the fuck out. Combat stims are still sometimes used on top of this to juice them even harder, because nothing says I love Khorne like melting your brain mid-battle. Slaanesh, sensory overload, and the Emperor's children in full meltdown. Now we come to Slaanesh, the ultimate god of pleasure and excess. Slaanesh's followers, particularly the Emperor's children, know no limits when it comes to indulgence. Whether it's indulging freaky music, pleasure, or drugs, they're already chasing the next high. The Noise Marines are practically living in a perpetual drug-induced haze, constantly popping ketamine, cocaine, and who knows what else to get them closer to that ultimate state of bliss. Their lifestyle is an unending pursuit of the K-hole, and their drug use is a critical part of this. Fulgrim, the Primarch of the Emperor's children, epitomizes this indulgence. He's obsessed with beauty, pleasure, and the pursuit of perfection, but it doesn't stop there. Fulgrim, often considered the ultimate gay Primarch, gay, as he celebrates all forms of indulgence and decadence, would turn to substances that increase his sense of pleasure and control. Overall, the Emperor's children are a bunch of fucking weirdos that love sticking shit in their ass. Looking at you, Fulgrim. Nurgle, rot and rapture. Next, we've got Papa Nurgle, the jolliest and grossest of all the Chaos Gods. His legion, the Death Guard, and their moist, stinky Primarch Mortarion are addicted not to euphoria or rage, but to decay. They don't pop pills, they snort spores, bathe in bile, and inject themselves with a disease cocktail that would kill a small moon. Nurgle followers use rot like a high. They're numb to pain and carried by waves of plague-filled bliss. That ooze dripping from their armor, probably a mixed strain of meth and fermented joy spores. Combat drugs and the Death Guard are more like anti-drugs. They dull nerves, nullify pain, and make you so blissfully unaware of your own bleeding orifices that you keep trudging forward. For Nurgle, the line between drugs, disease, and swamp ass is long gone. Tzeentch, brain candy for nerds. The Warp's answer to, what if meth made you smarter but also turned you into a bird? His favored sons, the Thousand Sons, and their glowing furry Primarch, Magnus the Red, aka Magnus the Gay, are addicted to knowledge, change, and mutagenic warp snacks that let you rewrite reality for funsies. Well, not druggies in the snort and scream way like the Emperor's children are. Tzeentch cultists love alchemy, psychic drugs, vision elixirs, and potion-based warp communion. The sorcerers of the Thousand Sons might drink potions that let them see into the future, but this all comes at a cost. The more they warp their brains with psychic substances and warp knowledge, the closer they get to spontaneously combusting into a warp spawn that won't stop giggling. Drug abuse here is metaphoric and metaphysical, but it's still drug use. The Eldar are a fascinating mix of elegance, psychic power, and well, an obsession with having mind-altering experiences. What's even more fascinating is that the Dark Eldar are obsessed with drugs in a way the Craft Eldar could never fathom. So we're gonna dive into each subgroup of the Eldar and really break down how addicted they are to ketamine. The Craftworld Eldar are known for their extreme discipline, and they generally avoid excessive drug use in favor of maintaining their psychic stability. However, their past, particularly before the fall, is rich with the use of psychedelic substances as they sought enlightenment through the use of drugs. These days, they keep it pretty tame, but there are still some remnants of these old practices. Certain exotic Eldar rituals might involve the use of hallucinogens in a controlled environment, but the craft world Eldar are generally the most level-headed when it comes to staying off the mind-altering substances. Next, we have the Harlequins, and they are probably the most psychedelic of the bunch. Hallucinogen grenades are their go-to weapon, and the drugs they use to perform their shadow dances and psychic performances are definitely not legal. These guys know how to get high, but their focus is on psychic performance rather than indulgence. Still, don't be surprised if they're toking on some psychedelic substances while they spin around in their artful trances. Finally, we arrive at the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar, who truly own the crown when it comes to their indulgence. They have literally everything in Kamra: pleasure, pain, drugs, even torture. Their obsession with pain isn't just a cruel whim, but literally the way of life there. They get a high off it. The witch cults use combat drugs to increase their performance on the battlefield, and the homunculi use psychotropic substances to enhance their ability to manipulate the tortured souls of their victims. The Drukhari live for pain, but they also indulge in the most extreme forms of drug use. Whether it's psychedelic substances or enhancers for their torture sessions, the Drukhari take drug-fueled excess to a sickening extreme. It's not just about pleasure for them, it's about power through control, suffering, and manipulation. They're like the bad trip you didn't ask for, but somehow they keep getting you to come back for more. You'd think the greenskins would be too busy smashing things to bother with drugs. But orcs are born on a cocktail of fungal mutations and battlefield adrenaline. Their bodies literally run on mushrooms and spores, so every orc is a walking psychedelic trip. The classic example is the Groot shroom, a fungus that turns even the weakest goblin into a leaping, cackling madman that's convinced he's invincible. Some orcs brew squid juice ales, infused with spore extract, creating a potent fungal brew that sends them into a berserker raged. What? Pain boys and weird boys take it further, concocting experimental fixture serums and psychic fungi cocktails that can make any orc feel like he's charging through a kaleidoscope war zone. Between the constant what? Psychic buzz and those magic mushrooms, orcs don't just fight, they fight while hallucinating an epic techno show. The Tau are known for their sleek, high-tech society, but they've got a few vices of their own. In their fire caste, they enjoy a bonding ritual involving kusha, a traditional alcoholic drink. And yes, I totally said that wrong. They also enjoy their own variety of beer from Borkensept. It's alcoholic, but it's also social and, well, part of their culture. So technically, they're not really drug users, but isn't beer a drug? I don't know. I'll let you guys decide that one. You'd think that an army that's been around for 60 million years might have picked up a taste for something, well, anything to ease the eternal boredom. But the Necrons are pure unfeeling machines. They don't eat, breathe, or even feel pain, so drugs are completely irrelevant to them. Sure, they might have maintenance fluids, nanogreases, chronoaccelerants, or anti-corrosion serums to keep their metal bodies running smoothly, but that's maintenance, not recreation. No elixirs of ecstasy, no combat stims, no get high on the Imperium rituals, and the grand drug Olympics of the 41st millennium, the Necrons don't even qualify. They're the galaxy's most sober faction, no vices, no addictions, just cold, relentless conquest. The Tyranids are the ultimate mindless consumers of everything in their path. Do they do drugs, though? Maybe. Their entire existence is just one big biological absorption. Their hive mind controls them to such an extent they don't need to indulge in pleasures or drugs They just consume and consume. Honestly, a brief moment here I've just thought of while doing my script. What the fuck would happen if the hive mind got high? Would all the Tyranids get high at once? Like, that is a good question. I'd love to do a video on that. Imagine one Tyranid takes a massive line of ketamine. Does the whole hive mind K-hole out? Now that's a fucking question right there. The closest thing the Tyranids do to drug use is probably the bioengineering they use to enhance their monstrous creatures, or the mutagenic stuff that makes them evolve at a rapid rate. After an exhaustive and drug-filled journey, enhanced by a series of deeply spiritual, drug-induced visions involving Aaron Rodgers, a sentient servo skull, and a surprisingly articulate mirror reflection of Fulgrim, I have arrived at the monumental task of determining which faction in Warhammer 40K truly deserves the title of most heinous drug-using faction. And it comes down, honestly, to two factions: the notorious Emperor's Children and the infamous Drukhari, or Dark Eldar. Both are paragons of excess, debauchery, and moral corruption, each embodying the darkest aspects of indulgence. Let's delve into the details of the respective atrocities, examining the depths of their depravity with evidence from the lore. Let's start with the Emperor's Children. Once esteemed as paragons of martial excellence, the Emperor's Children have fallen far from their noble origins. Their descent into hedonism and excess is a tragic tale of corruption. This saga begins with their Primarch Fulgrim, the Rape Snake, whose obsession with perfection led him down a path of ruin. Tempted by Horus and seduced by the whispers of a demon sword from the Layer Blade, Fulgrim's vanity and insecurities paved the way for the Legion's fall to Slaanesh. This transformation is detailed in the lore, highlighting how Fulgrim's personal failings led to the Legion's corruption. Under Chief Apothecary Fabius Bile, the Emperor's Children sought to perfect their gene seed by unlocking the Emperor's genetic secrets, leading to the creation of the Noise Marines and many other horrors. The Noise Marines specifically are equipped with sonic weaponry that look exactly like fucking guitars. Why? Because it's fucking cool, guys. Shut up. Don't listen to logic. These weapons produce sounds that induce extreme emotional reactions, rendering them deafened by the proximity of these maniac thrill seekers. During the Siege of Terra, the Emperor's Children surpassed even their usual excesses. They slaughtered millions of civilians, rendering them down to create endless varieties of drugs and stimulants, indulging their every whim without restraint. There's even a fucking scene where they kill a guardsman and eat him. Like, bro, what the fuck, guys? What's up, Fulgrim? You're crazy. You're crazy. Oh, wait, you're a fucking rape snake. I shouldn't have expected anything better from you. Even in the aftermath, as the Emperor's Children fragment into warbands, they still indulge themselves, as each warband would raid, sack, and murder their way out of the Imperium on their way to the Eye of Terror. Their legion falling from a group of honor-bound and perfect warriors to the crackheads and BDSM enjoyers we know today. Fulgrim would even abandon his own legion just to get pegged by Drukhari on his pleasure world. This led to leaders like Fabius Bile taking over and thus conducting grotesque experiments, including the cloning of the body of Horus Lupercal, showcasing their unbound depravity. Now, how did the Drukhari stack up against the ketamine abusers of the Emperor's Children? The Drukhari, the inhabitants of the dark city of Kamun Ra, have built an empire on the foundation of pain, suffering, and sadistic pleasure. The Drukhari's very existence hinges on their ability to inflict and experience pain. Their society is structured around the constant pursuit of torment, as they require the agony of others to stave off their own damnation from Slaanesh. This symbiotic relationship between their survival and the suffering of others is a testament to the unique brand of horror. At the heart of the Drukhari society are the homunculi, twisted artificers who have transcended mortality through grotesque experiments. These beings manipulate flesh and bone, creating abominations and concocting elixirs that enhance their sadistic pleasures. Their creations are both a means of survival and a testament to their unholy mastery over pain and resurrection. I'm not kidding you guys, these guys are fucking fucked up. There's a scene that features the homunculi, and in that, one of their tortured victims has been turned into literally a room. Like, his body is a fucking room. It's fucking crazy. Like, imagine that. You're on a planet, you're chilling, you get captured by some weird, kinky, dark elder bitches, and they turn you into a living room. Whoa. I'm kind of into it. Drukhari culture is a tapestry woven with threads of betrayal, torture, and decadence. Their raiding parties are infamous for their sweet, brutal assaults, capturing slaves for torment, and indulging in every conceivable vice. Their society is a reflection of their inner corruption, where the infliction of pain is both an art form and a requirement for survival. Now we come to the verdict. While both factions exhibit unparalleled levels of depravity, the Emperor's children emerge as the more egregious offenders. Their transformation from noble warriors to ketamine abusers, and their creation of the Noise Marines, and furthermore the atrocities committed during the Siege of Terra, highlight the true depth of their moral corruption that surpasses even the Drukhari's sadistic culture. The Drukhari's reliance on torture is a means of survival, whereas the Emperor's children actively seek out every excess and indulgence they could possibly undertake of hedonistic horror in the 40th millennium. Therefore, even after a thorough examination of their respective histories and practices, I believe that the Emperor's children should be crowned as the most heinous drug-using faction, embodying the pinnacle of excess, indulgence, and the complete and utter addiction to ketamine. Sorry guys, I made a lot of ketamine references in this video. You could probably tell I wish I was a horse instead of a cow. And that's it, folks. We've gone from the Hive Gang's puffin' low sticks and the Underhive to Fulgrim snorting warp coke off a demonette's thigh. Whether it's a ketamine-fueled murder party or shroom-tripping orcs charging into battle yelling, "Wah!" One thing's clear. The grim, dark future is definitely wild. If you liked this drug-fueled deep dive into Warhammer 40K's most chemically unhinged factions, drop a like, slap that subscribe button, and ring the bell like it's Slaaneish's pleasure gong. I'm sorry guys, that was a criminal statement. Got a favorite drug-addled faction I missed? Sound it off in the comments. I swear I read them all, probably while drinking heinous amounts of whiskey and questioning my life choices. Next up on A Falling Cow, we're taking a sharp turn into serious lore territory with my video describing a cow's Horus Heresy reading guide. That's right, the 54 books of the Horus Heresy detailing the daddy issues plaguing Horus and his bros and the war against the Emperor of Mankind. Galactic betrayal and countless Primarch drama condensed in a helpful, hilarious roadmap. I'll tell you what's a must-read, what's optional, and what you can skip because it sucks more than warp ketamine. So stay milked, guys. I'll see ya in the next video.